Hello, how is everybody doing? It is another Friday in Austin. We are the Real Estate Lab, and we're coming at you providing on the ground info, home buying info, home selling info every Friday. And we are streaming on pretty much every platform you can think of. So find us and subscribe so you can get that great information, whether you're in the home buying process or not. There's always going to be something to take away. So without further ado, let me introduce the other local realtors. Today we have, go for it, guys. Whichever one wants to. You're both on.
JJ Tolentino. Looked like your hand was this way. With the Next Level Property Group at Keller Williams Realty. Excited to talk about today's topic because selling very smoothly can be a little bumpy if you don't know exactly what you're doing.
It can
Pass
be.
it on to.
Hey everybody, I go by Ian of Austin everywhere on the internet. I do like today's topic. I think we had good success when we went over a similar topic before. And so I think it's just important for people to be realistic with their expectations. And we're going to talk about a couple houses and ways that you can set those expectations up appropriately.
Yes. And I, of course, am Liberty Walker with Realty Austin. So today we're going to be talking about, today's market, there's a low inventory. We're scooping up homes. Buyers are just pretty much buying any home that's available. That's what our mindset has been. And it's very competitive. So the market with everything will have ebbs and flows to it. And in the future, you might need to sell that home. And we want to discuss some of the factors that we don't want you to overlook while you're searching for your home. What are some resale factors that are going to potentially make it difficult for you to sell your home in the future? So we have some listings ready. Ian, do you want to pull up some that we can actually put our eyes on? I have a few things that come to mind.
I'll pull this one up right now. This is good. Okay, so let's look at this. So it is in Pflugerville, Texas, right? 1,600 square feet. It's listed at $214 a square foot, right? Built in 1981. For all intents and purposes, this seems like a pretty solid property. But then when you start taking a look at some of the pictures, so look at this. As you go through. So my first thought on this is, listen, no one, unless they're an investor, wants to deal with popcorn ceilings. Right? And it seems like such a small thing, but if you've ever been up there trying to scrape it off, it's just something that most people don't want to do. I know it's just aesthetic. Doesn't take much money. It's really just time. But that can cause a listing to sit for a while.
So, and you say that because I was in Millwood this morning, and if people don't know where Millwood is, it's a very highly sought after neighborhood next to the Domain, very close to Apple. And so homes are just flying off the shelves there. And as I was looking a little deeper into those homes, a lot of them had popcorn. And now that's not holding buyers back. They're still paying over a list price for these homes. But in the future, popcorn's nasty. That is not fun to get rid of. So that is a great thing.
Imagine if you move in and then you have to do that work. Right? Not everybody's in the position where they can buy a house, have time to get it to look the way they want it to look, and then move in. Right? So you're going to get all that. You're going to get that stuff all over all your furniture. And then what you're going to say is, I'm not doing it. And then it's just going to be there. So it becomes such a headache for people. And even look at these lights. Right? All they did was remove the grate that's on top of it. They didn't actually put anything there. They could have even put frosted glass and it looks better.
Yeah.
And it doesn't cost anything.
And I think sellers, they live in the house and everything's fine. It's like functional. This is definitely first world problem stuff.
Yeah.
And when you're marketing and you're going to the mass public, there's a lot of options out there. And, the buyers are keeping up with the Joneses. I would even say, wouldn't you say a majority of your buyers want make ready? I mean, almost 90%.
A large majority.
Investors for the most part, some of these people in different cities, maybe even different countries, they don't want to have the headache of organizing contractors to come out and do that kind of stuff. So, sometimes even replacing carpet and painting is too much, depending on what the price is that you're purchasing that home at. You really
So
crunch the
another thing
numbers.
if you look at this, look at the floors. All right, let me make it big. There are no floors. They just stay in the concrete, which means you have different levels of flooring and no transition there.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And even staying concrete, that's another aspect. Something so unique could be cool for one group of buyers, but as salespeople, we're looking for, mass demand. We like multiple offers, and it's not neutral enough, and sometimes you're just kind of being patient. That blue doorknob just popped out.
Yeah.
Or not the doorknob, the blue
cabinet
doorknob.
Oh, and that's the thing. They made a nice shower. They were like, "Oh, let's do this," and they didn't do anything else to the house. Nothing.
Yeah.
Right. And the reason why they didn't paint the walls are loud colors. That doesn't mean it's not. How would I say? It's a preferential thing, but they're so, they're so important to one person might like those, right? But the reason why they didn't do it is because they're probably still living there. I didn't check to see if it was vacant, but if they're still living there, you know how hard it is to paint with all your furniture there?
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And people they don't have that vision. They can't see past that when they're shopping. And so it shows up in the pictures and beyond. And, I don't know if you saw our numbers for Austin market this month, but the median sales price dropped by like 20% from last month.
What where 550?
540.
540, 530 something.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, sellers, if you're, that's a lot of plants. Very cool. Well,
it's very particular for the person that lives there. The house could be great, and you don't even get a chance to know that.
Yeah, and as a buyer's agent, when we're in there, or even as a listing agent, from a position of showing a property like that and walking a buyer through the awesomeness of that house, because it's a great house. It has great bones. You could talk about that. You could talk about all the different things you could do, but a buyer's interest just starts dwindling. You talk about paint. You talk about getting rid of the plants. You talk about the popcorn ceilings. It just, you lose them, and then it's on to the next property. So sellers, when you're out there, that is you gotta really consider that. I understand it's a great home, but we're talking about public marketing. Buyers, I think that's an opportunity for you to take advantage too, because other buyers aren't going to be as interested. So,
very good point. Like you saw the price of that house, right?
Oh, that was
$350 in Pflugerville. You're probably like 17 minutes from Austin, if that. Like depending on where you're going in Austin, right? Maybe even 10 minutes, depending on where you're going in Austin. What?
Yeah, we just said
10 minutes away from the city for $350,000 right now. You're like not at half, but 60-something% of the median sales price. Why wouldn't you do it?
$200,000 under the median price point, and then you paint a little bit, But that's the thing. Nobody wants to do it. It's a lot of work.
Nobody wants to do the work. Well, that's. Go ahead.
I mean, I was definitely just thinking nobody wants to do the work, because if you look at those popcorn ceilings, when do you think those went up? In the 80s and the 90s?
Oh, absolutely. 1981 when this house was built. That's when it went up.
And so
and every time somebody moves in, they're like, not doing it.
Exactly. Nobody wants to do it. So everybody keeps passing the buck on that. But in a market where, maybe there is a saturation of listings, maybe people have fully moved here from filling all those jobs, you need to sell your home. Now you're stuck with a project that I
have a question for you. This house, let's say, I don't remember how long it's been on the market. So this house was put on the market. Where's my dates? Come on. So let's say this was on the market for 10 days, right? What would you recommend to the person selling the house to do? I think that's the right question.
I would say, if you can get some contractors in there, paint it a neutral color, and pull up right. Oh, 10 days.
15. It's been on the market 15 days.
I
What
would
would you
drop the
recommend they do?
price. I'd talk to my seller about potentially thinking about dropping that price because people are obviously the market is rejecting that price. And if they could maybe bake that into the price to where people would have a budget to do something up front, might be helpful.
How about you, JJ? What would you do?
Yeah, I mean it's it's like, all right, seller, you want to talk about the hard way that's going to take some time and some energy, or an easier way where I could push some buttons and tweak some marketing? Because to address the bigger picture, it's not fitting everybody's needs, right? The staging, it's a lot of plants. I love plants. I think it gives us more oxygen. But again, for the public, I think it's a lot. Curb appeal, I noticed more plants across the garage. Clear all that out. The photos, they're nice photos, but they're still photos of that particular property. And it comes back to what Liberty said. We have to adjust the price accordingly, because if these people don't find that this property is as awesome as it is, price is a piece of marketing. You have to remember that. I think it's probably the most important, because you could almost sell anything at the right price, but that's up to the seller. You want to clear out everything that we just talked about, or adjust the price accordingly. So if we're to do pricing, depending on feedback, $10,000-$15,000 adjustments.
Ooh, $15,000.
That wasn't money necessarily in your pocket either. That's another conversation with sellers.
That is a good point. People think because, oh, well, my neighbor sold for X amount. Yeah, they're just already assuming that they can get that same. And that I'm going to mention the price per square foot, because I was whining about it being, what, $214 a square foot. And that's generally a pretty good price per square foot for this area. But right, you don't know if the house next door that sold for $240 a square foot had a pool, unless you're looking at that, right? So you can't just assume that it's all blanket, or if it was updated on the inside. That's really important. You want to read Foreign Story, Liberty?
Sure. So a Foreign Story says, in 15 days, that's crazy. This market is spoiled.
That is.
Yeah, that's so funny, 100%. And it's so true. Some sellers definitely did get spoiled, and they also have been getting some advice from their realtors that this is what to expect. Your home will sell in 3 days for over asking, and right now that might not be the case.
I would say, so this house, it's been on the market for a little while. It's accessible for a lot of people, but not everyone. There are a lot of people that have pulled back in the last few months because they're worried that they won't get it if they submit the offer, right? So I would want to promote this specifically to those types of buyers, and I would offer a closing cost credit. I don't even know if I'd touch the price, but it is touching the price, but I would offer a closing cost credit. Hey, I'll pay your closing costs if you submit an offer on this house by Monday. Something like that, right? As a seller. I think that would be an easy enough thing to do, because that what it does is people that can't get a loan right now or are afraid to lose out, well, this keeps money in their pocket so that once they move in, they can take the time to do those updates.
That's true.
So
well, let's talk about, okay, so a lot of what we've talked about so far could be considered cosmetic, floors, paint, preference, and things like that. What are some characteristics to a home that wouldn't be easily fixed or could be fixed at all? So my mind goes to location. Is it close to a railroad track? You can't move. You can't. I mean, I guess you could pick up the house and move it, but I mean, realistically, you're not going to be moving that home. You're stuck there. That home is there. So still, even in this market, you still have to look at where that home is in the neighborhood. Wouldn't you agree?
I think 100%. I think what people do is they look on, like Redfin, or they'll look on Zillow, or they'll look on Open Door, and they'll submit a thing to Open Door and say, what's my house worth? Or they'll get those mailers and they'll say, oh, my house is worth that. And that's what they think the number actually is. And then they're not understanding that, okay, yeah, but this person has a view in their backyard, right? you can't change that. You can't add a view to your backyard.
I'm gonna call out a specific group of people. I think it's the numbers people, like the analysts, the engineers, the accounting people, maybe the scientists. They look at those blanket numbers, and we take that into consideration. And as realtors, we have to break down that it's not that cut and dry. There's so many different elements, like we talked about. So many. There's,
I mean,
my
as
gosh,
you
the
know,
remodeling. Yeah.
driving from one street to the next could be drastically different. I mean, one street could be updated home, and then the street just down the road hasn't even been touched. So it's very specific.
I will say that is more the case in Austin proper. As soon as you start hitting the suburbs, every suburb has their own feel too.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah, for sure.
He's talking about you, JJ.
Austin.
You called him out.
You called him out.
Hey, Morris,
Hey, we love our engineers and we appreciate them keeping us on our toes all the time. I'll just throw that out there. So thank you.
Yes.
So what are some
work
other
with your
things-
realtor, get the elements together, and then you could do your analysis further.
Right.
What about
Corn story.
what about floodplains, guys? Are you
Yep.
guys seeing homes that are in a floodplain? I mean, I've seen a few that have sold in 3 days, and I'm wondering,
I was gonna,
is that always?
I was going to say that's not really something that people market, right? Nobody's going to be like, "Hey, my home's in a floodplain. Buy it from me," right? So you have to know how to find that.
Yes, you do. You definitely have to do and verify, find and verify. Also, surveys. Since we're talking about, the lot of the land, definitely take a really good look at that survey because, in the heat of the market, we're making offers sometimes in 24 hours of a home hitting the market. You guys have to review those documents because if you don't take a close look and you are thinking of putting a beautiful Olympic swimming pool in that half-acre lot you just purchased, hey, there's an easement there. What are you going to do? You know what I mean?
Yeah, and these all factor in. I know that the title of the podcast is "Why Won't Your House Sell?" It's also why won't your house sell for higher? Because even though we're in a seller's market, like I said, it all adjusts with the price. A foreign story says 500-year or 100-year floodplain, which I think factors in. If the flood is closer to present time, more buyers are more likely to walk away from that deal.
Yeah. Or it doesn't even mean that it's in a floodplain, right? Like there could be no indication that it's in a floodplain. But if you look at the house, and let's say the topography is your house is at the bottom and then it flattens out and everyone else's house is, going up. Like there's a big hill, right? And your house is at the bottom, but then there's a bowl where the water would catch. That might not have been mentioned as a floodplain yet or assessed as a floodplain yet. But most people, if they're looking at it, it's like, I don't know. That's the thing. I don't know that I say most people look at that and might not even consider that if they're in a dry place like Arizona. I don't know, but I always want to have that conversation.
Yeah.
Because your 100-year floodplain, guess what? Could turn into a 10-year floodplain with this wonky weather we have.
It's just a historical trend, right?
Yeah, it's a ratio. I think is what it is, right? Like the odds of this happening. There's no guarantee, of course, that you're going to have it.
This is a trend. That's all they could say.
Right. It's like, yeah. I think another thing that we want to mention is how easy is your property to see? Like how easy is it for people to come in and look at your house?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, it's so true. And yes, I mean, you guys, when you're thinking about selling your home, also think about taking a 2-week vacation for when your home hits the market and you can leave and conveniently show your home. I mean, I can't tell you guys how frustrating it is sometimes trying to coordinate showings between buyers and owner-occupied listings.
I will say the houses I have that sit on the market the longest are when people have children that are in the house, studying in the house, and they cannot leave on a whim, or puppies. my goodness, animals for some reason are causing people from not being able to sell their house because they have to run home and get their animals. And I get it. But the cost of boarding the animal for a week or two is a lot less than the cost of having your home sit on the market. Nobody wants to do it. I get it. But I mean, people are moving for a reason, and this could help tremendously.
Yeah.
And I think that if you're truly in it and you really do want to sell your home, you know, you're going to be going through with your realtor this checklist of what's going to be most appropriate for you. And we get it. Like, people have to live their lives. This person's going to need to sell their house to get into a new house. And so we have to consider that as well. But trying to see a home that you can't get into, that's difficult.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Like if you're a seller and you're selling, like, really commit to it. Because if it's tough to show, it's tough to show. I had buyers fly in from Michigan. They said that they wanted to get a property under contract for the week they were staying. And we had to do it that quickly. It's just, that's how it is. You got to move quickly. If you're a seller, stay committed to it and take whatever you got to do. Because if you let it drag on for a few weeks, you go through this downward spiral of, that was on for 3 weeks, something's wrong with it, and you don't want to end up in there because it just ends up being worse off.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
I've got another one. Do you have a house, or does anybody have a house they want to pull up?
I do have one. Let me go ahead and share this with you, because really it's just a question. I can't for the life of me figure out why it hasn't sold.
Okay.
So let me.
While you're looking for that, JJ, you want to read a Foreign Stories comment?
Foreign Story are analytical. Great point. My home is on a parcel of land, but as recent as 2 years, my neighbors had significant flood issues. That's the problem. Most people are super emotionally attached to their homes. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And what's interesting too, if someone doesn't have issues with the flood, they still have to consider resale value, because the next buyers may have an issue with that. So you have to take in consideration, you know, your exit strategy, what you're looking to get out of it, and it all factors in.
So we just had that on our recent inspection for our personal home, and saw that there was water damage. Well, you look at it, you could tell that it was just water damage from the washer overflowing. It's like, that's not a big deal.
Yeah,
but some people are like, I can't, there might be mold in it. It's like, no.
The 4-letter word. Yes.
Yeah. I don't even know if I'm allowed to say that on YouTube.
No, you can't say mold.
But
what's the question, Liberty?
So this home right here, it's in Millwood. So I know for a fact that these homes are just flying off the shelves. It's kind of close to Farmer, but it is tucked in.
Open it.
Do you see? I mean, do you guys see it?
Yeah. Click the listing. Let's see.
I'm guessing pricing history, because sometimes they price higher. This is exactly what I was talking about.
I don't know
the listing.
And if it 450 seems okay, but
oh, I see. Hold on. No.
450 seems okay, but if it was priced last week at 475 or 500,
all right. I don't know why it's not showing Liberty, but I'll share it. I've got it up.
It's the last on there.
Yeah. So cute house, decent upgrades. I mean, for that area and that square footage, 450. There's
no HOA, low taxes. Yeah, no HOA, low taxes. From the picture, and this might be an optical illusion from the tree, but it looks like it's leaning.
Yeah, like the slant. Also, my family put this in my ear, but they are super paranoid about trees too close to the house for the roof.
That is a big one.
Right.
Well, yeah. Because, I mean, a lot of times there are restrictions for what trees you can take down.
I would say curb appeal in the back seems tough.
No, I'm not sure, but it has been on the market 26 days.
Yeah, I say new. Recently, recently.
It does have popcorn ceilings, but
yeah, not. I mean, Millwood is a location play. I don't think you could ask for a whole lot regarding upgrades.
I think that's a really important point, right? So you got people that don't know they're coming from out of town and may not know why something is worth so much, and they'll just put money into it. But then when you look at the when you look at the price point for this particular, the square footage of this particular home, it's a 3-bed, but it's not even 1,400 square feet.
I'm telling you guys, I just ran comps on these this morning, and homes this size are selling for the mid fives. So I might have to call them and see. Maybe there's a good opportunity, you guys.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, it's not completely updated. The curb appeals, it's very dirt, not grass.
Yeah, that's true. Maybe they need to plant
I'm
some
not
grass.
seeing any cracks in the foundation.
But man,
there's no gutters, but that's everywhere around there.
Location-wise, for those people that don't know, I associate Millwood with like the new Apple groups are going to be clamoring for this neighborhood because of the northwest location.
Well, and like you said, if it's just somebody who's coming and let's say they don't have a partner or a family, this is a great house, right? Or as a rental.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
See, so $2K removal for the tree is what Foreign Story says.
A good estimate, Foreign Story.
Yeah, so great. Take it out if you're allowed. I mean, you're allowed to, but yeah, take the tree away.
Well, if you're allowed to.
I had to pause for a minute. If you're allowed to, there's no HOA, but you do want to check and make sure that that's not going to be a problem.
City arborists and such.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
Well, or if you plant a new one just further away, right? But think about it. Like you're getting this for how much less than the median sales price? So this is $450. So you're saving, $75,000 or so. It's worth $2,000 to get rid of a tree.
Now, maybe if they're willing to go further out, because you definitely have to go further out. There's some builders in the 400s that are leaking out some inventory, so maybe it's pulling away a little bit.
I had to remove the screen because I'm going to pull up. We have special documents, right, that we can see on the MLS, like surveys and such. So I'm just checking to see if there's any seller's disclosure issues.
Yeah, I kind of skimmed through there. I didn't see anything. Sometimes we'll look for foundation problems, and we'll see that there has been foundation work, and depending on the severity of the problem of foundation work, that to me would be a super big red flag for me to say, let's think about this property, because even if you could get it for a quote unquote good deal today, if you did want to sell in the future, that next buyer, you have to disclose all of those problems. And some people don't want to get into a home with foundation problems.
Yeah.
It's been on the market for 26 days.
I'm calling them.
Pricing history. What was the pricing history?
Pricing history. Yeah, it hasn't been dropped. It was it did drop. It dropped on September 11th.
Yeah.
By 20,000.
See, that's significant. That's what I said on the last property, 1015. That's a good group. You ever have these? This is kind of a Halloween topic.
It's so crazy. When it was first listed, it was listed at $470. And then they increased the price to $470,000. So obviously that's a typo, but that still shows up, right?
Yeah,
so if somebody sees that, they might say, "Uh-oh, this is a scam."
Oh yeah, maybe that's the case. But
I was going to mention you ever get these paranoid buyers that are like, again, maybe a Halloween topic. They're like, did somebody die in it? Which is some disclosure stuff we could talk about.
I know so many people that are like, I do not care. I want that house. It's how much? Yeah. Give it to me.
Yeah. But there's disclosure policies for that.
Well,
if there was a murder, we can disclose that. But if it was natural causes, I don't think we can say, right, JJ?
No.
Well, it's not even if there's a murder. It's if I just took my legal update class. It's if the person was killed as a result of something defective in the home.
Oh, that's
only
good to
that.
know. Thank you, Ian, for staying abreast of all of those legal.
I have to. My CE credits are due in like 13 days. So I have to. But yeah, that's the kind of stuff. So you could be buying a house with ghosts in it or whatever you believe, right? Like that could be happening. And nobody has to disclose it. The thing is, people talk. Well, so that it goes back to like the history of just people in general, like society. How many of you know your neighbors? right?
Me.
Like me too. I was out talking to him. We were doing a doggy play date this morning with my neighbor. Like it's great to take the time to introduce yourself to the neighbors because you hear stuff and you learn stuff about the area, and it's just good to be with people. Yeah, but not everybody does that. If you're coming from some other place, you may not have done that. And so if you're shopping for houses, I've done this. While I'm with clients and I didn't know something specific about a neighborhood, if I've seen people sitting outside, I'll go up and talk to them. Like, hey, tell me what's going on with their house. Why do you think they're selling? Love that.
Yeah.
Yeah. So definitely be nice to your neighbors, because if you need to sell your home, you don't want them spilling all the dirty little secrets about you.
Well, I mean, I'm going to ask, was anybody killed in there? Like, I want to know. Please tell me. Please let me know.
Wonderful.
Please
well,
you
guys, I think we hit the key ones. And my takeaway is have your house move-in ready. Have it easy to show. Before you purchase the home, make sure that it's not in a weird place or backing up to, a Taco Bell. Think about these things, because when it's time for you to sell, you don't want your home sticking on the market too long.
What do you have, JJ?
Yeah, I would say for those watching, buyers and sellers, like talk to realtors just like us that know the different elements, because I feel like people jump to so many conclusions, and being in between all the sales, we could iron it out. Like I loved how we were, let's look at the seller's disclosure, let's look at the pricing history, let's look at its popcorn ceilings, it's all these different factors. So talk to your real estate professional. They'll get to the bottom of it. What do you think, Ian?
I think it's good. My takeaway from today is don't be stubborn, right? Let someone else, it doesn't have to be me, I don't care who it is, right? Let someone else who will tell you the truth or has no vested interest in the sale of this property tell you what they think your house would go for and why, right? Have somebody come in and look at your stuff and say, yeah, but their house was nicer. They sold it for $20,000 more, right? Like somebody who will be that objective, because you won't.
Yeah.
And so think about that when you're looking at these numbers and the pricing as the market, is going through its ebb and flow phases. I think that's really important for people.
Awesome.
That's great, guys. Well, thanks for tuning in to this Friday's episode, and we look forward to next Friday, where we'll have some special guests, secret surprise guests. So we will see you then. Have a great weekend, guys.
Later, y'all.